Dr. Valentina Rossi stared at the quantum interference patterns dancing across her holographic display, her dark eyes reflecting the pulsing blue light that filled the observatory's main chamber. The European Space Defense Initiative's facility, nestled high in the Swiss Alps, had recorded something unprecedented, a signal that defied known physics. "Run it again, Nikolai," she called to her research partner, Dr. Nikolai Petrov, who sat hunched over his own array of instruments. The silver-haired Russian physicist had worked with her for 15 years, and she trusted his judgment more than anyone's. "Already on it," he replied, his fingers flying over the haptic interface. "The quantum resonance signature remains consistent. Whatever this is, it's not natural." The signal had appeared 3 days ago, a perfectly structured pattern of quantum fluctuations that suggested advanced technology far beyond humanity's capabilities. After centuries of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, first contact seemed imminent. But something about the signal's complexity worried Valentina. Director Johannes Weber burst into the chamber, his usually immaculate uniform wrinkled from too many hours of crisis meetings. "Dr. Rossi, we're picking up massive gravitational distortions at the edge of the solar system. The Americans and Chinese have confirmed it." Before Valentina could respond, the observatory's warning systems blared to life. Through the facility's transparent dome, she watched as the night sky transformed. Massive shapes emerged from what appeared to be tiers in space itself, ships of impossible scale, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly metal that seemed to absorb starlight. "My God," Nikolai whispered, "they're here." Within hours, the world's media was saturated with images of the alien vessels. Humanity's first contact with an advanced civilization should have been a moment of celebration, but the ship's aggressive positioning and sheer military might send a clear message. These visitors hadn't come in peace. The Nexarian Empire's initial transmission reached every communication device on Earth simultaneously. Supreme Overlord Cthax appeared on screens worldwide, a towering figure with iridescent scales and multiple sets of eyes arranged in a hypnotic pattern around an elongated head. "People of Earth," the alien leader's words were perfectly translated, suggesting they had been studying humanity for some time. "Your civilization has reached a crucial junction. Your quantum experiments have drawn our attention, particularly your crude attempts to manipulate subspace fields. Such dangerous toys do not belong in the hands of lesser species." Valentina felt her blood run cold. The signal they detected, it hadn't been a greeting. It had been a scan, probing Earth's technological capabilities. In the days that followed, the Nexarian demands became clear. Earth would surrender its quantum research facilities and most promising scientists to Nexarian control. In exchange, humanity would be permitted to continue its existence as a protected species, unable to develop technologies that might threaten the Empire's dominance. The United Earth Council, hastily assembled in Geneva, debated their options. Traditional military resistance seemed futile. The Nexarian ships possessed shields that could shrug off nuclear weapons, and their energy weapons could reshape continents. But Valentina had noticed something during her analysis of the Nexarian transmissions. Their technology, while incredibly advanced, relied on principles similar to her own quantum research. There might be a vulnerability, if she could only figure out how to exploit it. Working in secret, authorized by the highest levels of the Earth government, Valentina and Nikolai began adapting their quantum interference experiments. The Nexarians had dismissed humanity as primitive, but they hadn't counted on human ingenuity or desperation. "Look at this," Valentina called to Nikolai one night, as they worked in a hidden lab beneath the Alps. She had modified their quantum scanner to probe the Nexarian ship's energy signatures. Their shield systems, they're not just deflecting energy, they're absorbing it through quantum tunneling. But the process isn't perfect. There's a cascade effect. Nikolai's eyes widened as he studied the data. "If we could trigger a feedback loop in their quantum fields." "Exactly," Valentina said, her mind racing with possibilities. "We need to get this to the military immediately. And we'll need help, the best quantum physicists from every nation." As she transmitted her findings through secure channels, Valentina watched the Nexarian ships through the lab's external feeds. They hung in Earth's orbit like artificial stars, their presence a constant reminder of humanity's vulnerability. But perhaps not for much longer. The Nexarians had given Earth 30 days to submit to their demands. They didn't realize they had just given humanity exactly the time it needed to develop something unprecedented, a defense system that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Supreme Overlord Cthax, observing Earth from his command ship, felt only contempt for the primitive species below. His civilization had dominated the galaxy for millennia, crushing countless emerging civilizations that dared to explore quantum technologies. These humans would be no different. But in the hidden lab beneath the Alps, Valentina Rossi worked through another sleepless night, driven by the knowledge that humanity's future hung in the balance. The Nexarians thought they had come to prevent humanity from becoming a threat. Instead, they had given humanity exactly the motivation it needed to achieve something revolutionary. The quantum displays pulsed with new patterns as her experiments continued, each test bringing them closer to a breakthrough that would reshape the galaxy's power structure forever. Humanity's greatest challenge had arrived, and with it, the opportunity to prove they were far more than a lesser species. Colonel Marcus Zhang stood at the reinforced window of Project Oracle's control room, watching as another convoy of equipment disappeared into the massive hangar carved inside the Himalayan mountains. Behind him, dozens of screens displayed real-time data from Earth's outer colonies, each one showing another Nexarian victory. Mars Base Omega has gone dark, Lieutenant Raj Kapoor reported from his station, his voice tight with controlled anger. That's the third outpost this week. Marcus clenched his jaw but maintained his composed demeanor. At 45, he'd spent half his life preparing Earth's defenses against potential alien threats. Now that the threat had arrived, it was worse than anyone had imagined. Dr. Patel's team needs those quantum stabilizers unpacked and calibrated immediately, he ordered, turning to face the bustling command center. And get me a secure line to Geneva. They need to know about Mars. Project Oracle had been established in less than 2 weeks, bringing together the brightest minds from every nation on Earth. The facility, built inside an abandoned military bunker, had been expanded using experimental boring technology. Now it housed over 1,000 personnel, all working toward humanity's survival. Dr. Aisha Patel burst into the control room, her traditional Indian hijab slightly askew from rushing. "Colonel, you need to see this." The quantum physicist's eyes blazed with excitement. "We've successfully replicated Dr. Rossi's quantum interference effect on a larger scale." Marcus followed her through the winding corridors of the facility, passing teams of scientists and military personnel from dozens of nations. The usual bureaucratic rivalries had vanished in the face of extinction. They reached the main testing chamber, where a massive array of quantum processors filled the cavernous space. "Watch this," Aisha said, moving to a control panel. She initiated a sequence, and a small sphere of Nexarian alloy, salvaged from debris, began to vibrate. Suddenly, its molecular structure seemed to shift, becoming partially transparent before resolidifying. "We can affect their technology," she explained, her voice trembling with implications. "The quantum resonance cascade doesn't just disrupt their shields, it can destabilize the very structure of their materials." Marcus studied the sphere, his military mind already calculating possibilities. "Can we scale this up?" "That's where it gets complicated," Aisha replied, bringing up detailed schematics on a nearby screen. "We need a massive amount of energy to affect anything larger. And there's another problem. The Nexarians might detect large-scale quantum manipulations." Their conversation was interrupted by a facility-wide alert. In the command center, Lieutenant Kapoor had patched through an emergency transmission from the lunar colonies. The Nexarian fleet had begun systematic strikes against Earth's space-based defenses. Supreme Overlord Cthax's image appeared on all channels again. "Your pitiful attempts at resistance amuse us. Already your outer colonies kneel before the Empire. Soon, Earth itself will understand its true place in the cosmic hierarchy." Marcus watched his team's reactions, fear mixed with determination. They all knew the stakes. The Nexarians weren't just conquerors. They were sophisticated exterminators of civilizations that might one day challenge their dominance. Dr. Patel, he said quietly, how long until we can test a full-scale prototype? Aisha consulted with her team, rapid calculations flying between them. 3 weeks, maybe 4. But Colonel, we haven't solved the containment issues. A miscalculation could tear apart the quantum fabric of space itself. The Nexarians won't give us 4 weeks, Marcus replied, his decision already made. We need it in 2. Requisition. Whatever you need. I'll handle the politicians. Over the next days, Project Oracle transformed from a research facility into something resembling a hybrid of laboratory and military base. Additional quantum processors were installed in vast underground chambers. Power systems were upgraded to handle the massive energy requirements. Dr. Rossi's theoretical work, combined with Aisha's practical innovations, began to show promising results. They called their creation the Quantum Cascade Array, a weapon that could potentially turn the Nexarians' advanced technology against them. But as they worked, the enemy drew closer. Nexarian scout ships had been detected in the asteroid belt, methodically eliminating human outposts. Their main fleet held position near Mars, now a silent graveyard of human ambition. Marcus spent countless hours in strategic sessions, coordinating with military commands worldwide. Conventional forces were being positioned to make it appear that Earth was preparing for a traditional defense. The Nexarians needed to remain ignorant of Project Oracle until the last possible moment. Colonel, Aisha called him to her lab one evening, her face showing signs of exhaustion but also triumph. We've achieved stable quantum resonance at 10 times the previous scale. Look at this. The test chamber held a larger piece of Nexarian technology, a damaged shield generator recovered by special forces. As the quantum cascade array powered up, the alien device began to shimmer, its impossibly advanced materials responding to the quantum interference. The effect is cascading through their quantum field matrix, Aisha explained, pointing to readings that Marcus barely understood. Their technology is all connected through quantum entanglement. If we can disrupt one system, we can disrupt them all, Marcus finished, finally seeing the full potential of their weapon. Their greatest strength could become their greatest vulnerability. But victory, if it came, would carry its own price. The power requirements for a full-scale attack would drain most of Earth's energy reserves. And the quantum cascade effect, once triggered, might have consequences beyond their calculations. In his private quarters that night, Marcus recorded a message for his daughter in Beijing. If anything went wrong, he wanted her to know they had tried everything possible to secure humanity's future. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Aisha stood in the doorway, holding a tablet displaying new simulations. Colonel, we found something in the quantum field calculations. Something that changes everything. Marcus studied her expression, seeing both fear and determination. Whatever they had discovered, it would almost certainly accelerate their plans. Outside, in the clear Himalayan night, stars wheeled overhead, each one now a potential battlefield in humanity's fight for survival. The next morning, as Project Oracle's teams gathered for their daily briefing, Marcus made an announcement that would alter the course of the war. They weren't just building a weapon anymore. They were about to rewrite the laws of physics themselves. Commander Jamal Ibrahim watched from Lunar Base Alpha's command center as another Nexarian dreadnought emerged from hyperspace, its crystalline hull reflecting the harsh sunlight of space. The massive vessel joined dozens of others already positioned between Earth and its moon, their presence a constant reminder of humanity's precarious situation. "Status report," he commanded, his deep voice carrying across the tensely quiet room. Captain Olivia Drake, his second-in-command, pulled up a holographic display of the solar system. Red markers indicated fallen human outposts, while blue showed their remaining strongholds. The visualization was becoming increasingly monochromatic. "We've lost contact with the Ganymede mining colony," she reported. The Jupiter Defense Fleet managed to evacuate 60% of the civilian population before the Nexarians arrived. The rest. She didn't need to finish the sentence. Jamal studied the tactical display, noting how the Nexarian forces had systematically isolated and eliminated humanity's off-world presence. Only the lunar bases remained, protected by an uneasy stalemate as Earth's governments pretended to consider the Empire's demands. "What about the anomalous readings near their command ship?" he asked, referring to the strange energy fluctuations their sensors had detected the previous day. "Still inconclusive, sir," replied Dr. Kenzo Tanaka, their chief science officer. The Japanese physicist had been analyzing the data for hours. "But there's something odd about their quantum field signatures. They're more erratic than usual, almost as if." A priority alert cut through their discussion. The main screen filled with a transmission from Dr. Valentina Rossi, broadcasting from her facility in the Alps. Her face showed exhaustion but also unmistakable excitement. "Commander Ibrahim, we've confirmed our theory about the Nexarian quantum network," she said without preamble. "Their entire civilization is connected through a sophisticated quantum entanglement grid. It's what allows their technology to work in perfect synchronization, but it's also their greatest weakness." Jamal leaned forward. "Explain." "Their quantum fields aren't just communication channels. They're the foundation of their technology. We've discovered that their materials, their weapons, even their biological enhancements all depend on maintaining specific quantum states. Disrupt those states, and we could disable their entire war machine," Jamal finished, his mind racing with possibilities. "But how?" The image split to include Colonel Zhang and Dr. Patel from Project Oracle. "We're building something that can trigger a cascading quantum disruption," Aisha explained. "But we need your help, Commander. The Nexarians are starting to detect our quantum experiments. We need a diversion, something big enough to hide our final preparations." Jamal exchanged looks with his command staff. What they were suggesting would cost lives, but it might give humanity its only chance at survival. "How long do you need?" 3 days, Colonel Zhang replied. "Maybe 4. The quantum cascade array is nearly ready, but we have to be certain. One miscalculation could tear a hole in space-time itself." A new alert flashed across their screens. The Nexarian fleet was moving, their massive ships taking up attack positions around the moon. Supreme Overlord Cthax's image appeared on all channels, his multiple eyes gleaming with cold intelligence. "We grow weary of your delaying tactics," the alien leader announced. "You have 24 hours to surrender your quantum research facilities and designated personnel. After that, we will begin eliminating your lunar installations. 1 base every hour until you comply." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. Captain Drake pulled up their defense scenarios, but everyone knew their weapons would be useless against Nexarian shields. "Well," Jamal said grimly, "it seems the timeline has been decided for us." He opened a secure channel to Earth's Combined Military Command. "This is Commander Ibrahim. Implementation of Operation Solar Shield is now authorized. May God help us all." Within hours, every remaining human military vessel began moving into predetermined positions. It would look like a desperate last stand, exactly what the Nexarians would expect from a primitive species facing extinction. But beneath the Himalayas, Project Oracle entered its final phase. Dr. Patel's team worked frantically to complete the quantum cascade array, knowing that every minute brought them closer to either salvation or annihilation. Dr. Rossi coordinated between facilities, her quantum calculations becoming increasingly complex as they factored in new variables. The Nexarians' quantum field network was vast beyond imagination, spanning their entire empire. If their weapon worked, the effects would ripple through every piece of Nexarian technology in the galaxy. "We've got a problem," Dr. Tanaka reported from Lunar Base Alpha. "The Nexarians aren't just scanning for quantum experiments anymore. They're probing our defensive grid with some kind of quantum resonance pulse. If they maintain this level of scanning, they'll detect the array's energy signature." Commander Ibrahim made a decision that would change the course of the war. "Dr. Rossi, how much power would you need to mask the array's quantum signature?" "We'd need to create quantum interference on a massive scale," she replied. "The kind of energy output that would be visible from halfway across the galaxy." "What if we gave you the combined power of every lunar reactor?" Jamal asked. One massive burst, made to look like a desperate weapons test. The scientists fell silent as they calculated the implications. Such a power surge would permanently destroy the lunar base's fusion reactors. If the plan failed, Earth would lose its last off-world stronghold. But before they could debate further, the first Nexarian strike began. A brilliant beam of energy lanced out from one of their dreadnoughts, vaporizing Mining Outpost 7 and its skeleton crew of volunteers who had stayed behind to maintain the deception. "We're out of time," Colonel Zhang announced. "Commander Ibrahim, give us that diversion." Dr. Patel, begin final preparations for the array. Dr. Rossi, coordinate the quantum calculations between all facilities. Everyone else, pray that we're ready. In orbit, the Nexarian fleet commanders watched with amusement as human ships moved to protect their lunar bases. Such primitive tactics, such predictable behavior. They never suspected that humanity's true weapon was hidden deep beneath Earth's mountains, preparing to rewrite the laws of physics themselves. The final countdown had begun. Humanity would soon discover whether their desperate gamble would bring salvation or merely hasten their extinction. And in the quantum realm where reality itself became uncertain, the laws of the universe held their breath. Admiral Victoria Santos stood in Earth's primary defense command center beneath the Pacific Ocean, watching as humanity's carefully orchestrated plan unfolded. Holographic displays showed hundreds of vessels moving into position, a desperate-looking defense that was actually an elaborate deception. "Fleet positions confirmed," reported Captain Miguel Herrera, his fingers dancing across the neural interface console. "The Nexarians are responding exactly as predicted. Their battle groups are spreading thin to engage our scattered forces." Victoria nodded, her silver-streaked hair reflecting the blue glow of tactical displays. After 30 years in the United Earth Navy, she had never imagined commanding humanity's last stand. But here she was, orchestrating what might be either their finest hour or their final moments. "Message from Battlemaster Vrock," announced Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka. The young communications officer's voice carried a hint of disgust. "They're demanding we recall our ships and begin the surrender process." "Send no response," Victoria ordered. "Let them think we're in disarray." She opened a secure quantum channel to Project Oracle. "Colonel Zhang, status of the array." 97% charged, Marcus replied, his image flickering with interference from Nexarian scans. "Dr. Patel says we'll need another 15 minutes to achieve full power. But Admiral, we're detecting unusual fluctuations in their quantum network. Something's changed." Before Victoria could respond, alarms blared throughout the command center. On the main display, massive energy signatures bloomed around the Nexarian fleet. Their ships were powering weapons on a scale they'd never revealed before. Battlemaster Vrock's transmission cut through all Earth's communications. The alien commander's armored form filled the screens, his biomechanical augmentations pulsing with barely contained energy. "Primitive humans," he growled, mandibles clicking in what they'd learned was amusement. "Did you think we wouldn't detect your quantum experiments? Your pathetic attempts to understand forces beyond your comprehension end now. Supreme Overlord Kthax has ordered your species' termination. Consider this a mercy, sparing you from further embarrassment in a universe that has no place for such inferior beings." The Nexarian dreadnoughts began moving into attack formation, their crystalline hulls shifting to reveal planet-killer weapons previously hidden beneath phase-shifted quantum fields. This wasn't just an invasion force. It was an extinction fleet. "Commander Ibrahim," Victoria called to the lunar base. "Status of Operation Solar Shield?" "Ready on your command, Admiral," Jamal replied, his voice steady despite the situation. "All lunar reactors are primed for simultaneous detonation. We'll mask the array's power signature, but we'll lose all lunar installations in the process." Victoria took a deep breath, feeling the weight of billions of lives in her next words. "Dr. Rossi, your analysis?" Valentina's image appeared, showing the quantum physicist working frantically with her team in the Alps. "The Nexarians have activated their entire quantum network for this attack. Their overconfidence is their weakness. They've created the perfect conditions for our counterstrike. If we act now, the cascade effect will be unstoppable. Dr. Patel? Victoria asked, needing confirmation from Project Oracle's lead scientist. The array is as ready as it will ever be, Aisha responded, her face showing both determination and fear. But Admiral, we've detected something in their quantum signature. The cascade won't just affect their technology, it will disrupt any Nexarian biological matter connected to their quantum network. Their cybernetic augmentations have made them completely dependent on it. The implications were clear. This wasn't just about disabling their weapons, they were about to destroy the Nexarians' entire way of life. Victoria thought of her grandfather, who had survived Earth's last World War. He had faced similar choices with nuclear weapons. Now humanity held something far more devastating. The first Nexarian strikes hit Earth's orbital defense platforms, shattering them like glass. Debris rained through the atmosphere, creating brilliant streaks across the sky. They were done waiting. All commands, execute final protocol, Victoria ordered, her voice carrying to every human vessel and installation. Commander Ibrahim, initiate solar shield. Colonel Zhang, prepare to activate the array on my mark. Dr. Rossi, begin quantum calculations. Dr. Patel, power to full. Across the solar system, humanity's forces moved with precise coordination. The lunar bases diverted all power to their reactors, creating a massive energy surge that lit up space like a second sun. The Nexarians turned their sensors toward this apparent threat, never suspecting it was cover for something far more dangerous. Deep beneath the Himalayas, Project Oracle's quantum cascade array hummed alive. The massive device, built from humanity's combined scientific knowledge, began generating waves of quantum interference that would shake the very fabric of reality. Array at full power, Aisha reported. Quantum field alignment optimal. We're ready. Victoria looked at the tactical display one last time. The Nexarian fleet hung above Earth like a sword of Damocles, their weapons preparing to end human civilization. In that moment, she thought of every species they had already destroyed, every civilization they had deemed unworthy of existence. For Earth, she said quietly, then raised her voice. Activate the array. All ships, execute emergency quantum jump on my mark. The quantum cascade began as a subtle ripple in space-time, barely detectable even to the Nexarians' advanced sensors. But within seconds, it expanded exponentially, washing over their fleet in waves of reality-distorting energy. Battlemaster Vrak's final transmission showed confusion turning to horror as his ship's quantum fields began to destabilize. The cascading effect moved through their network faster than light, reaching every Nexarian vessel, installation, and colony connected to their quantum grid. Their mighty ships, whose technology had seemed like magic to humanity, began to transform. Crystalline hulls became transparent, then shifted through impossible colors before losing molecular cohesion entirely. Weapons capable of destroying planets dissolved into quantum uncertainty, their energy dispersing harmlessly into space. And the Nexarians themselves, so dependent on their quantum-based cybernetics, felt their enhanced bodies begin to fail as the cascade reached their home systems. Their entire civilization, built on the assumption of quantum supremacy, faced the consequences of that overwhelming pride. Victoria watched as the massive Nexarian fleet vanished, not through violence or destruction, but through a fundamental change in the quantum states that made their existence possible. In less than an hour, the most powerful empire in known space had been reduced to scattered survivors and ships and colonies that had somehow remained isolated from their quantum network. But as reports of victory began flowing in, Victoria felt no joy. They had won survival, but at what cost? As she prepared to address the waiting world, she wondered what humanity would become now that they wielded power that could reshape reality itself. The universe would soon find out. Ambassador Thomas Okonjo gazed through the crystalline dome of the Galactic Council chamber, where thousands of stars glittered against the backdrop of space. The massive station, positioned at the galaxy's diplomatic neutral point, housed representatives from over 300 space-faring civilizations. 6 months ago, humanity hadn't even known it existed. Now, Earth held the chamber's central position. The Council recognizes Earth's ambassador, announced High Mediator Zilax, her bioluminescent form pulsing with formal patterns. The Meridian Elder had overseen galactic diplomacy for 3 centuries, but Thomas could detect uncertainty in her harmonics. Everything had changed. Honorable members of the Council, Thomas began, his rich Nigerian accent carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic field. We come before you not as conquerors, though we have defeated the greatest military power in known space. Not as destroyers, though we have undone an empire that spanned 1,000 worlds. We come as equals, seeking to help build a galaxy where no species need fear extinction at the hands of another. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of reactions, electromagnetic pulses from silicon-based life forms, gravitational ripples from energy beings, and various vocalizations from organic species. Fear, hope, and calculation mixed in a storm of diplomatic signals. Pretty words, came a harsh voice. A surviving Nexarian noble, one of the few unaugmented members of their species, rose on spindly legs. You speak of peace while displaying power that could unmake reality itself. How can any civilization trust a species that would weaponize the quantum fabric of space-time? Thomas noticed Dr. Valentina Rossi shift uncomfortably in her observer's seat. The quantum physicist had insisted on attending, feeling responsible for the knowledge she had helped unlock. Besides her sat Colonel Zhang and Dr. Patel, their presence a reminder of how a few humans had changed the course of galactic history. We understand your concern, Thomas replied carefully. That is why we have submitted the complete specifications of our quantum cascade technology to the Council's science directory. Knowledge this powerful should not belong to any one species. New chaos erupted. The idea of freely sharing such devastating technology seemed incomprehensible to many council members. But Thomas raised his hand for silence, continuing with practiced calm. But what we offer goes beyond weapons. Our scientists have already begun adapting the quantum cascade effect for peaceful purposes. Dr. Patel, please share your findings. Aisha stood, activating a holographic display that filled the chamber. The same principles that allowed us to disrupt Nexarian quantum fields can be used to enhance faster-than-light travel, terraform hostile planets, and even heal quantum damage to space-time itself. We've already successfully restored 3 systems damaged by ancient quantum weapons. From her seat among the Science Council, Dr. Rossi watched the reactions. She remembered the night they had first discovered these peaceful applications, working with teams from a dozen species who had once lived in fear of the Nexarians. The universe, they had learned, held far more possibilities than anyone had imagined. The human proposal is unprecedented, declared High Mediator Zilax. Never in the Council's history has a newly contacted species offered such powerful technology freely. We must consider the implications carefully. With respect, honored mediator, Thomas responded, we don't have time for extended deliberation. Already, we've detected attempts by various powers to replicate our quantum cascade effect. Without proper understanding and safeguards, such experiments could have catastrophic consequences. He gestured to the chamber's central display, where a map showed the former Nexarian Empire. Most of their worlds were now autonomous, their surviving populations struggling to rebuild societies without quantum-based technology. Some had already requested Earth's assistance in developing new paths forward. We stand at a crossroads, Thomas continued. We can either work together to ensure this knowledge benefits all species, or we can watch as desperate factions potentially tear apart the fabric of space-time itself. Earth chooses cooperation. In the observation gallery, Admiral Santos watched with carefully hidden tension. The combined Earth fleet hung in space around the Council station, not as a threat, but as a reminder that humanity could no longer be dismissed as primitive or powerless. The Council's deliberations lasted 3 days, as various factions argued and aligned. Finally, High Mediator Zilax announced their decision. The Galactic Council would establish a new quantum sciences division, jointly led by multiple species, with Earth playing a central role. All quantum technology research would be monitored and shared, preventing any single power from dominating the field. As the council session ended, Thomas found himself in a quiet observation lounge with Dr. Rossi and Dr. Patel. Below them, the massive stellar nursery at the galaxy's core painted space in brilliant colors. "Do you think we made the right choice?" Valentina asked, watching distant stars birth new worlds. "Sharing everything? What's the alternative?" Aisha replied, "Keep the power for ourselves? Become what we fought against." Thomas smiled, remembering his grandmother's wisdom about power and responsibility. "We didn't just unlock the secrets of quantum mechanics," he said quietly. "We discovered something far more important, the capacity for species to grow beyond their fears and ambitions." The Nexarians couldn't imagine sharing power, and that was their true weakness. A soft chime announced another visitor. Commander Ibrahim entered, now wearing the uniform of Earth's new quantum defense force. "The first joint research team is ready to begin work," he reported. "Scientists from 20 species, all working together to understand the quantum realm." "And to think," Valentina mused, "none of this would have happened if the Nexarians hadn't tried to prevent us from developing quantum technology. Their greatest fear created exactly what they sought to prevent." As they spoke, ships from dozens of civilizations moved through the space around the council station. Among them were Earth vessels, no longer seen as primitive curiosities, but as representatives of a species that had changed the galaxy forever. Not through conquest or dominance, but through the choice to share power rather than hoard it. In the depths of space, the quantum fields that connected all reality continued their eternal dance. But now, for the first time, multiple species worked together to understand and protect them. A new age had begun, shaped by humanity's decision to forge a different path than their former enemies. The stars looked on, ancient and patient, as the galaxy's civilizations took their first steps toward a future where power and wisdom might finally walk hand in hand.